My life is sitting down with people I don't agree with 100% of the time. I don't agree with myself 100% of the time. But when Tom and I are in the room, we're both saying one thing. No matter who you are, if you're hurting innocent people in this city and in this country, you don't have a right to be in our country.
Now, that is radical talk from Democrat New York City Mayor Eric Adams. How dare he say that criminals shouldn't just be allowed to have their way with you? Doesn't anyone know what the Democrat Party position is on this? More crime, more illegal alien gangs, more tattoos. They like more tattoos. They like a lot of tattoos. Well, a very good Friday to you. We continue to be at 888-630-9625. It is a mad, 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 mad world. President Trump is the busiest man on the planet. He's talking about a superpowers summit, a trilateral summit. President Trump, Xi Jinping, Ricochet Rabbit, and of course Vlad the Impaler, Putin. They got commie killers. These commie killers are still out there. We thought we had won the Cold War, but we jumped the gun a little bit on that. It turns out they were just plotting to take over the Democrat Party while they were, where the good guys were tearing down the Berlin Wall. The left was plotting their next chapter, mayhem, death, and destruction. We call them Democrats. So we got that. Speaking of Democrats, is it a funny story? It's kind of a funny story. I think it's a funny story. The headline at the Fox News Channel, and trading stuff back and forth this morning with Michael Piercy and with others. And my friend Matt Foldy sent this along, too. He's a ton of fun. And here's the headline. New poll, as if you needed a new poll. New poll shows liberal women the most unhappy, lonely. All right, now cut to the audio of that purple-haired person at the Massachusetts, Worcester, Mass, transgender. What do they want? Special rights for transgender people? Sanctuary city for transgender. The Democrat Party is they're not well. They're not well. We should feel sad and sorry for them, and we should, as good people, as good Christians. And then we should say, get the hell out of my face, you freak. What the hell's the matter with you? So a new poll shows liberal women the most unhappy, lonely. Liberal women between the ages of 18 and 40, 18 and 40, nearly 3 times as likely as conservative peers to report frequent feelings of loneliness. Have you ever talked to one of them? Honestly, most of them richly deserve to be lonely. Hey, wait a minute. Now that I have spoken to you for a few minutes, you should be lonely. I think I'm going to leave now. Whack-a-doodle-doo. These people, but it is a fun story because the left is insane and misery loves company. They love to be miserable. Nothing makes them happy more than being unhappy. Am I right? They love unhappiness, and they want you to be there with them in their unhappiness, and that's where all this dementia about gender and stuff comes out.
If you say that you're afraid of Trump and that's why you don't want the city to be a safe space for trans people, you better prepare for trans people to make this a very unsafe space.
She was then shot and killed just outside the city council meeting. Very tragic story. That's the purple hair one, isn't it? That she one of them. It's hard to tell. They got the curly purple hair one in Worcester, Mass. Worcester, Mass used to be like clam chowder and fishing boats, and now it's a transgender sanctuary city because the Democrats are not only is the left coming for your rights, but the Democrats are coming for the genitalia of your children. They collect them, keep them in a mayonnaise jar. Funk and Wagnall's front porch since noon today. Remarkable stuff. And I'll get to this unhappy. You already knew this. Everybody already knew this, right? Of course, liberal women are the most unhappy people. 18 to 40. It's supposed to be the greatest time. You're supposed to be having the time of your life. 3 times as likely. And that's probably an underestimation. Mental cases. Today is Valentine's Day. St. Valentine's Day. And liberal women are going to be lonely. Said they're unhappy, and tonight they're going to be lonely because it's Valentine's Day. And you know how they're. Nobody wants to hang out with them because the crazy stuff, all the crazy stuff. So we've got that. Now, there are all kinds of things to talk about because it's Valentine's Day. A fun story out of the Great Waffle House, where they sell waffles, as you might imagine, from something of a house. And Waffle House is having very special, a new thing for Valentine's Day. Got to make reservations, and they have tablecloths and candles and heart-shaped waffles and all kinds of fun stuff. But thanks to the Democrats killing all our chickens, they've got a 50-cent surcharge on each and every egg. So if you get a 3-egg omelet and it's $10, well, there's another $1.50 because there's a 50-cent surcharge on each of the 3 eggs in the 3-egg omelet. And I blame Democrats. I don't know about you. And they're unhappy, though, so we can't be too mean to them, except I think we can. Also, all kinds of wackiness because today, Valentine's Day, is the anniversary of what in 1929 was the most shocking massacre anyone had ever heard of. Gangsters in Chicago, Al Capone's gang, sent some goons, some dressed in Chicago police uniforms, to a garage on the north side of Chicago. And their goal was to assassinate the leader of the North Side Irish gang. Al Capone and the Sicilians controlled the South Side, you know, the bootlegging and the gambling and the prostitution and all that stuff. And on the North Side, an Irish guy named Bugs Moran, he controlled organized crime on the North Side. And Al Capone ordered a hit on Bugs Moran to kill him. I don't want to get all jargony on you. But guys went into this garage on the North Side, which is no longer there, sadly, and mowed down 7 guys because they thought they saw Bugs Moran arrive. And it shocked the nation and the world at the time. Now it's Saturday afternoon in Chicago, so it's not quite as shocking as it was in 1929. But I've got some wild connections to that I want to share with you a little bit later on. And it begins with this. Bugs Moran was the target of the hit, right? My grandfather, Patrick Henry Barnes, and Bugs Moran were friends. And Bugs used to come over to the house with his boys, and there's a bunch more to that. But I want to share that a little bit later on today. Also, my grandmother was involved. She was kind of there for I'll explain. I'll explain a little later. Fun massacre. And also, how does it compare to Chicago today? Because, what was it in 2024? Now, again, 7 killings there shocked the nation, shocked our sensibilities. It's the stuff of legend, of lore, of books, of Hollywood movies, of Jason Robards, of all kinds of things. And last year, of course, there were 573 people murdered in Chicago last year, and nobody bats an eye because the left, they just love killing. And when they take over, bad things happen. So I want to get into that a little bit later on. It's not the happiest Valentine story, but it's kind of a fun one. It's American history and Gangsterland and all that stuff. So I want to get to that. Now, a lot of stuff going on because President Trump is a busy, busy man. I don't think he sleeps. If he does, nobody sees him. He sleeps with his eyes open, and he's sending messages out on Truth Social while he's asleep. He's quite amazing. But he was on he's looking at setting up a trilateral superpower summit between himself, Xi Jinping of Communist China, and Vlad the Impaler Putin of Communist Russia, because Putin's a commie, a KGB guy, a killer, throws women off of rooftops and things like that. Typical commie. They're like that. The left, they love doing stuff. They're worse than the Islamists in Gaza. Amazing stuff. But President Trump saying, let's pull together a trilateral summit with myself, Donald John Trump, President of the United States, Xi Jinping of Communist China, Vlad the Impaler of Moscow, Russia, and talk about reducing the number of nuclear weapons, reducing military budgets, reducing the likelihood of global thermonuclear war, which, we don't talk enough about global thermonuclear war anymore. Used to be a great topic of conversation. And then it sort of faded away. But I think it's making a comeback because the commies are making a comeback too, aren't they? And it's getting some headlines here, but around the world, more importantly, they're paying attention to it. Trump proposes trilateral meeting with Xi Jinping and Putin. Now, that is a big deal, potentially. Wants to slash military budgets in half with the three mega powers and wants to limit nuclear weapons. Now, I know all of you are aware of this, but it was Richard M. Nixon who created the first, what we called the SALT treaties, the SALT talks with the then Soviet Union, the Strategic Arms Limitation Treaty, and that led to SALT II, more limitations on nuclear arms. Republican Nixon, peacemaker, putting a lid on the expanding arsenals of nuclear weapons. The Soviet Union and the United States, at one point, we had 30,000 nuclear weapons each, do a pretty good job on the planet. Right? And then it was Ronald Wilson Reagan who created the START Treaty, the START talks and the START Treaty, the Strategic Arms Reduction Treaty, and that was the first treaty to reduce the number of nuclear weapons on the planet. You see how Republicans are the peacemakers, and Democrats, they started the Civil War and got us into World War I and World War II and the Korean War and the Vietnam War, and they tripped up our law enforcement and intelligence community, leading into the 9/11 attacks that led us to the wars of the 21st century. The Democrats are not good at this, but they're good for the military-industrial complex that Republican President Dwight Eisenhower warned us about. But now President Trump is talking about limiting nuclear weapons and reducing the number of nuclear weapons and reducing military spending. Russia, China, and the United States, we're $36 trillion in debt. But the Democrats, they've got slush funds all over the place. And Joe Biden, he's getting paid off by the military-industrial complex. If only we had a legitimate news media in this country, they'd be looking into things like that. But we know better. We know better than that, don't we? Womp womp. I'm thinking that if President Trump reduces the number of nuclear weapons and cuts military spending, that liberal women will be very upset. Don't you think? I think they're going to be very upset by that. What with all the mental illnesses? Amazing stuff. Yeah, it's a new poll about liberal women. Is that like a brass pole going from the ceiling to the floor? No, that might lead to more happiness. I can't say for sure. So we've got those things going on. And President Trump, peacemaker. Ronald Reagan, peacemaker. Richard Nixon, peacemaker. Richard Nixon got us out of Vietnam, too. After the Democrats, first John F. Kennedy, then really LBJ, got us in up to our eyeballs in the Vietnam War. Richard Nixon got us out. Ask any recent college graduate, and they'll tell you the Vietnam War is Richard Nixon's war because they've been brainwashed by leftists, by communists who are closer on the political spectrum to Vladimir Putin than they are to, forget Richard Nixon, than they are to John F. Kennedy. Amazing stuff. Also, Senator Marco Rubio was heading over to Munich, München in Deutschland, flying out of Andrews Air Force Base, Joint Base Andrews, on one of the white and blue 757s. I've flown on those planes many times. And mechanical problem about 90 minutes out, had to turn around and come back. So they didn't crash over the Atlantic Ocean, and that's good. Also, President Trump will be attending the Daytona 500 this weekend. We know this because the Federal Aviation Administration has already restricted the airspace around the Daytona 500, the big race this weekend, not too far from Mar-a-Lago. And phony baloney Senator Lisa Murkowski from Alaska is insisting that Donald Trump cannot say that Mount McKinley is called Mount McKinley just because he's the president. She says, no, it's Denali. It's Denali to us. Amazing stuff. Our Treasury Secretary, I combined the two words, Treasury Secretary Scott Bessent, leaving a nice little note at the airfield in Shannon, Ireland, where he stopped in his plane to refuel before crossing the Atlantic. I've stopped there for fuel myself in Shannon, Ireland, aboard U.S. Air Force airplanes. And let's get President Trump. His buyout offer has been accepted by 77,000 federal employees. And the Democrats are all outraged by this because they're ignorant. Bill Clinton offered buyouts to federal employees when he was president, and hundreds of thousands of federal employees took the buyouts offered by Bill Clinton, and he only dated a couple of them, as far as we know. Remarkable stuff, and hundreds of thousands took the buyout when Bill Clinton was president, but the news media has erased that from our collective memory. J.D. Vance, very busy man, too, and he's getting stuff done. Not only is J.D. Vance in Europe getting stuff done, but he has a 12-year-old young girl relative here in the United States who needs a heart transplant, but she's being denied that heart transplant by Democrats, by liberals, because the little girl is not vaccinated. Everybody knows how good the COVID vaccine is for your heart. So the 12-year-old that needs a heart transplant, her mother didn't want her getting the COVID vaccine because she's not stupid. But now the Democrats are trying to kill her by denying her a heart transplant. Does it have anything to do with her relationship with J.D. Vance? Got that coming up. We got AOC for you today, CBS Fake News, and the Kennedy Center. And we're at 888-630-9625.
I'm making vegetarian chile.
Chris here with a list of things that none of us should trust. The Washington Post, the New York Times, anything on CNN. Here's a list of things that I do trust. The Washington Times. Support real journalism for just $1 a week at washingtontimes.com/Chris. Yes, the Democrats have filled my bucket again. It's a bucket of Democrat slop, but I'm here to let them know, call them out on it. I know why you're miserable. I'll explain that later. Let's go to the phones. Let's go to Jim, calling from the beautiful, great state of Florida. Jimmy, you're on the Chris Plant Show.
Hey, Chris, this might be a little harsh, but any city that declares themselves a sanctuary city, why round up even Eric Adams sort of came to our side, but why round them up? We should drop more there. It's like, look, just hold on to these people. We'll come back and get them when we can. Drop all the illegal aliens. The criminal ones we could round up and take them up to the jail cells or the prisons and say, look, these are all criminal aliens. We're dropping them on you. Well, we don't have room for them. We don't care. We're just going to put them right here. You guys figure it out. And other things on the side, I still hear the liberal Democrat caucus still talking about illegal aliens. I mean, can they talk about their constituents that are American citizens? And the same thing with the Hispanic caucus. I watch them all come out and they stand there and do a media show. And it's all about the illegal aliens and wanting them to be treated fairly and kept here and stuff like that.
That is a fact, Jack. Yeah, President Trump doing big stuff, this trilateral conference that President Trump will be calling for the United States, Russia, and China. Talk about reducing military spending, reducing nuclear weapons. That's big stuff. That's big time. That's huge. And President Trump is doing that. The Democrats, in the meantime, they're canceling their engagements at the Kennedy Center because Donald Trump took over as the head of the Kennedy Center, which as president he can do. And the Democrats, they just want to control everything. If they don't control it, they might self-immolate, as so many of them have done. There's a woman named Issa Rae, ISSA, like the radical Islamic, it's like ISIS, you know. But Issa Rae cancels sold-out appearance at Kennedy Center. Oh, no, I can't believe it was sold out. Michael, did you get your tickets in time? The multi-award-winning actress, writer, and director, Issa Rae, announced on Thursday that she has canceled her show at the John F. Kennedy Center for the Performing Arts. That's here in Washington, D.C., in the shadow of the Watergate Hotel and complex and along the mighty Potomac River, just south of Georgetown. The star, she's a star, if she walked into the studio now, I wouldn't know her. But do you know who she is? You don't know? I don't follow her on anything. The Star posted on her Instagram the story that she will no longer appear for her An Evening with Issa Rae. The sold-out show was scheduled at the venue for March 16th. Well, plenty of time to make other plans then, so that's good. In the social post, Rae wrote, "Unfortunately, due to what I believe to be an infringement on the values of an institution that has faithfully celebrated artists of all backgrounds through all mediums, I've decided to cancel my appearance at this venue." Good, less traffic, and it might have impeded me while I was going someplace. This comes after the Washington Post, left-wing rag that it is, reported that the Kennedy Center's board voted to name President Donald Trump as the chair of the board. I think he's the chairman of the board, isn't he, chairman? But they try to eliminate gender from everything, don't they? Isn't that great? We were playing yesterday, we played audio for you of a Democrat member of Congress, a woman who was upset that more women aren't going into traditionally male-dominated fields like construction and jackhammering. And she said maybe it's because the word manufacturing begins with man. You know, it's manufacturing, so it's a kind of a ridiculous thing.
You had mentioned trying to engage more women in manufacturing.
Mentioned?
I'm just wondering if just the name manufacturing sounds like a guy.
Sounds like a guy, yeah, manufacturing. Yeah, so does manhole cover, but let's not get all caught up in. And she used the word, what was it, mentioned and man. She used man, words that begin with man and men. She said many and she said mentioned right there. Why would she use words that begin with M-A-N and M-E-N? Honestly, that's Democrat Congresswoman Jan Schakowsky from the Chicago area of Illinois. And she is a wackadoodle-doo, Jan Schakowsky is just a typical Democrat. Trucking and tech and why aren't more women truck drivers? And she said, and I don't know if trucking is manufacturing. It's related, I guess, but they've got a lot of issues with toxic masculinity. They don't like masculinity. Shared another story yesterday that the Democrats were attacking President Trump and Elon Musk because they're too musky and masculine for the Democrats. And they're very upset that this masculinity is taking place anywhere because they're against it. Amazing stuff. Too masculine for them. They're not well. And I shared this with you yesterday, but Trump and Musk's masculine maximalism. This is what they're upset about at Axios. Their masculine maximalism reshapes government. Really, what's the new shape? If it's well, never mind. We'll skip that. But these people are very unwell. Issa Rae cancels. I don't think anybody's going to care very much. It was sold out, but at a very small theater, a very, very small theater. Amazing stuff. Yeah, and President Trump, they're very upset that the board at the Kennedy Center has named President Trump as the chairman of the board, not just the chair, but the chairman. And the Washington Post very upset about it. They terminated Deborah Rutter. Now, I mean, firing her is fine. I don't think they had to kill her, though. I thought that was maybe a step too. They terminated her. You're terminated. And Issa Rae, she starred in something called Insecure. That seems appropriate, doesn't it? And she's not going to come to the Kennedy Center because Trump, she didn't vote for him, you little fascist. She was in Barbie, too, which makes her big, I guess. Amazing stuff. She was involved in a TV series, and nobody knows what it is, and nobody cares. But following Trump's announcement, Rae is not the only star if you consider her a star, who pulled back from the Kennedy Center. The award-winning opera singer and actress Renee Fleming said she would depart from her role as artistic advisor at large. That's her title. How much is she paid to be artistic advisor at large, the Kennedy Center? Because we give them tens of millions of dollars a year, taxpayer dollars. Shonda Rhimes, the renowned television writer and producer. Shonda Rhimes is renowned. She's a renowned television writer and producer. Also resigned from the board after serving as the Kennedy Center's treasurer. We should check and see if she stole any money, because you know how these people on the left are. Ray's event was removed from the Kennedy Center's website. That seems to make sense, doesn't it? Since she quit, she's a quitter. Probably unhappy, too. Like all these liberal women that are unhappy and lonely. Now she's going to be lonely that night because nobody's going to show up wherever she is. As of Thursday afternoon, they pulled it off the website. She said on Instagram that all tickets will be refunded, just in case you're worried. We should get a double back, I think. And it should come out of your own pocket, because that's a really dumb reason to, These people, can I just say? These people. All right, we've got a great deal of mostly Democrat Party madness to get to. You know, the Democrat Party loves illegal aliens. They love illegal alien gang members coming to your daughter's school. And if they're transgender, then, the rest, I think. This morning, Tom Homan, the border czar for President Trump. And remember when Kamala was the border czar? She was the immigration czar and the border czar. And what did she do about that? I think she stood by the border and rang the dinner bell and yelled, "Come and get it," while they opened the floodgates to every gang around the world to come to the United States to rape, loot, pillage, plunder, kill, which Democrats like. They like more of that. They're the left. But Tom Homan, the border czar, who's busy doing stuff and getting stuff done, and President Trump getting stuff done on the border, and Venezuela is suddenly snapping to, the commie down there. Oh, you can use my plane to fly illegal aliens back to Venezuela, after saying, "I'm not taking nobody. We don't need no stinking illegals," right? And then he's like, "Well, use my plane, please. Please evacuate all the illegals from the United States." And President Trump getting it done with Mexico. Here, have 10,000 troops for the southern border. I'm going to send 10,000 more troops to the border. That's great. And Venezuela taking them back, and they got the creeps like Putin letting Americans go. Venezuela, it turns out, had a carload of Americans they were holding hostage too. President Trump, bam, got them out in no time at all. Joe Biden is not on our side. He was not on our side for 4 years as president. But let's go, because Tom Homan had a meeting with New York City Mayor Eric Adams, Democrat, who complained a while back about all the illegal aliens arriving in New York City and said they're spending billions of dollars on illegal aliens, and what's with the open border? Within minutes, the FBI grabbed him on the sidewalk, yanked the cell phone out of his hand, raided the home of his top advisor woman, looted and plundered everything. Did they stage any photos with classified document cover sheets that they brought and photographed them and leaked them to the news media? Or is that special for Trump when the FBI was targeting him under Democrat corrupt leadership? B is the correct answer. But they started raiding Eric Adams, and then they charged him with a whole bunch of crimes, terrible crimes, because years ago he was going to Turkey and he got an upgrade from coach to first class. In case you didn't know, that could get you like 20 years in prison when the Democrats are building gulags and rifle-butting people to the ground like the Soviets that they are. All right, but this morning, and again, Eric Adams, Democrat mayor of New York, and Tom Homan, not a Democrat, not a mayor. They had meetings yesterday, and this morning, both of them, Tom Homan and Democrat Mayor Eric Adams of New York, were on Fox and Friends together with one another, and they were asked about all this good stuff. Tom Homan on Fox and Friends sitting there with Eric Adams and talking about their meeting about illegal aliens and what to do about it.
I tell you, when I sat down with him, I saw the cop in him, And he really does want to do the right thing because he is a cop. He's a lifelong cop. And so he wants to help take public safety threats off the streets in New York, make New York safer. He also wants to help find these missing children. We got 300,000 missing children. That many of them are here in this city. We know that. We need to save them. And I think everybody can agree to that. I don't care what side of the political spectrum you're on.
No, that's not true. No, the Democrats, no, they're not looking to save 300,000 children that went missing under Joe Biden, illegal alien children. The Democrats just want them washing dishes and cutting lawns because that's all they talk about when the subject comes up. 300,000, that's a city. Mayor Pete Buttigieg was mayor of South Bend, Indiana, and has a population of 100,000. So it's 3 South Bend, Indianas of only children, and they're missing. And Tom Homan says, and I know a lot of them are in this city, in New York City, but it's true, Eric Adams was a police officer, rose to the rank of captain, police captain, and then he foolishly became the mayor of New York. Who would want to be the mayor of New York, honestly? What's the benefit of that? Get a haunted house and not much else. But a career police officer who it turned out was a Democrat, so then he became pro-crime. Now he's waking up. And literally the Biden people are trying to put him in prison for decades because of bribery. And so, well, he's a Democrat, of course, in New York. They get away with it. They've been getting away with it for 100 years. Why would he bat an eye at any of that? Oh, an upgrade to first class. I'm the mayor of New York. That's no problem. And honestly, you shouldn't be looking at jail time for taking an upgrade on a flight when you're the mayor of New York. That shouldn't be an imprisonable offense. Call me crazy, but isn't that amazing? Eric Adams this morning sitting there with Tom Homan.
The far left has hijacked this narrative. ICE is running in our schools. ICE is running in our churches. And they are creating this frenzy. They're not in the business of just grabbing children. And we need to, just stop all this noise.
The Democrats made sure it was illegal for ICE to go into churches and schools. So to get illegal aliens that the Democrats want more of, because, cut your lawn and all that good stuff. And this is where Hamas hides their fighters and their weapons in schools and in mosques, and they dare you to blow up their schools or mosques. The left does the same thing here. And then once you have established that no-go zones are churches and schools, then the lefties fill the churches and schools with illegal aliens. Eric Adams.
My life is sitting down with people I don't agree with 100% of the time. I don't agree with myself 100% of the time.
What?
But when Tom and I are in a room, we're both saying one thing. No matter who you are, if you're hurting innocent people in this city and in this country, you don't have a right to be in our country.
I don't agree with myself some of the time. Now, that's a Democrat. They're not the brightest people in the world. They wouldn't be Democrats if they were. Another Democrat, New York City Councilman Robert Holden. Robert Holden was asked about Homan and what's going on with the illegals in New York. And this guy has always been a progressive lefty Democrat, Robert Holden, and he's beginning to remove his head from his dark and remote location.
To have anybody in New York City that's pushing against secure borders right now, what do you think about that?
Well, that comes with the territory of the far left. And unfortunately, most of my colleagues in the Democratic Party are not for public safety because they would want criminals off our streets, which is Tom Homan and President Trump are trying to do, despite sanctuary city laws, which protects criminals in New York City.
Not for public safety. He said this progressive left, they're not for public safety. That means they're for public danger because that's what they are for, and they've proved that over and over again. Remarkable stuff. Yeah, they're not for public safety. And he says, most New Yorkers actually agree with what Homan is doing. And it's time Eric Adams had his charges dropped by the Trump Justice Department because Trump recognized that he was being railroaded by the Biden crooked criminal Justice Department. He was targeted after he stopped singing from the Biden White House sheet music, and they tried to put him in jail for decades. He took an upgrade on a flight to Turkey. That's real nice, getting an upgrade on a flight. It's like 9 hours, Of course you want to know. You don't want to be in coach. He's the mayor of New York, for the love of. Isn't that amazing? The Democrats. Yeah, they're not for public safety. That guy's a Democrat, Robert Holden, saying it out loud. Your Democrat Party. A little Chicago gangster talk coming up after the top of the hour. Family ties, you know. And illegals in New York. Eric Adams, the mayor, Tom Homan, the borders are meeting yesterday and then again this morning. But right now, let's go to the telephones, Michael. Let's go to Don, calling from St. Pete, Florida. Tampa, St. Pete. Don, you're on the Chris Plant Show.
Que pasa, Chris? Hey, listen, I agree with let's just say everything I've ever heard you say, which is fantastic. In particular, thank you for the every once in a while official shout out to Bullwinkle Moose's alma mater. What's the matter, you?
What's the matter, you? Huh? You gotta know respect.
And I hope there's enough of us out there that understood the Mapplethorpe reference. But listen, as far as I remember that, as far as Issa Rae person, she's so typical of today's Democrats, putting her own political views ahead of everyday Americans. All she had to do was make all of her fans happy by performing as they paid for in advance, including non-refundable plane tickets, I'm sure, to get to Washington.
Right.
All she had to do was go ahead with the performance and then at the end mention to the audience that she won't be returning because of the circumstances. But no, she had to get into the news cycle by canceling.
They're all political fanatics, aren't they?
Well, I want to say selfish. I mean, come on. I mean, I lost all my friends. I used to work 9 years at the St. Communist Times. The St. Petersburg Times. There were only two of us who used that other name, me and the only other conservative out of 4,000 staffers who hired me. But, it's selfish. All my friends, the day of the election, greatest day in my life, including my marriages, was when Trump got elected. I was working security back then at a local hospital, which is 99% extreme liberal, all the medical staff, the cleaning staff, everybody. And they used to say, here comes the Nazis, whenever any one of us was making our rounds to the nurses' stations or whatever.
Yeah.
But
then they get back to aborting minority babies.
Well, they stopped inviting me to my dinners. I used to go once a year. I was the token conservative to their dinner parties, but never got a Christmas card back after that.
Un fascistas. Yes, intolerance in the name of tolerance.